for a few to trickle in here, but I did want to do an update on our weather here in Houston, Texas, and what things are kind of starting to look like in the yard here. But yeah, it's on. We're on day. It's been since Sunday night, I think. So it's Thursday now, so day 4-ish. On a personal note, before I get into the yard or anything, the temperatures have been between 30 and down to 12 degrees the past 4 nights. I have had no gas, no electricity. The house has gotten down to 30 degrees. It's been a bit of a struggle, but we've gotten through it so far. And finally, late last night, we got electricity and gas, and I got the gas sorted out yesterday a little earlier, so at least I could use our stovetop and heat up water and fill the bathtubs and stuff with hot water. But yeah, as you guys can probably imagine, things have gotten pretty toasted around here. I'll pan around the front yard just a little bit. A lot of this stuff's deciduous, so it's fine. You're gonna see a lot of this with the bananas. This one I already harvested from, so it was technically dying anyway, but they're pretty toasted, but I actually think I'm gonna leave them like this for the next 2 nights so they can create a little insulation with what they have. But I think the lower, I guess, trunks are still intact, which is fine. These are some of my deciduous things I left out. It looks like the kales and some of the brassicas actually held on. Not that I was too worried about annuals, but hibiscus is pretty toasted. This dragon fruit, it's definitely gonna turn to mush, but I took really healthy cuttings off of it right beforehand. I didn't even really attempt to protect it all that much because I knew it was gonna be a goner. Katuk might come up from the ground. This is that Mexican sunflower I told you, got very toasted. Probably go down to the ground, which is fine. Mandarin, still hanging on. Lightly toasted, but I think it'll be fine. That cinnamon tree, all that foliage is gonna come off for sure. Some of the tips have some damage, but I have some pretty thick trunks here, which I think will be just fine. So yeah, I'll move into the backyard, which cosmetically looks pretty horrendous, but I've clumped up these bananas and I haven't thinned them out, and I think they'll be fine. Once things warm up, they'll probably spring back, but for the time being, they look pretty bad. On the side note, when I was mentioning the fact that we had no electricity and stuff, maybe I'll try to show you guys in a minute some of the plants that I brought inside. But with the temperatures going down to 30 degrees in my house, some of those got toasted on the tips too. They had wind protection and all, but yeah. But let me show you a few things around the backyard here. Swivel this camera around. So yeah, all the Mexican sunflowers did their job. They're still hanging on. We have 2 more nights of this, so hopefully they can do all right. Surprisingly, the bamboo did okay. Tamarind is probably gonna defoliate, but a lot of this stuff should be good, at least on the first foot that I covered. And that's that avocado seedling, definitely just toasted. You know, all this should be green on the trunk, but if I peer down in there, it does get green under the insulation, so that's a good sign. Same with the jackfruit. Surprisingly, still some green on there. This has been through a freeze, but you can tell this kind of died. This is still green. It's going to be about up to a week or 2 weeks before I really know the severity of damage that's been done. You're gonna see this with all my banana clumps. Some of them I didn't harvest the bananas off of. I was thinking about you and your trees yesterday. Did you have power now? Yes, Curious Cat, just got power late last night, thank God. I have 2 kids. I was trying to keep warm this entire time. scrambling around. So it's been an experience to say the least. No gas, no electricity for the past 3 days. Temperatures went down to 12 degrees, so yeah, 30 degrees in the house. It was between 30 and 40 degrees the entire time. So yeah, bananas, you're gonna see a lot of this. I have to cut them back a little bit. The moringas, I'm not gonna do no damage until things warm up a little more and I start seeing growth, but I think the trunks have been protected sufficiently. The yuccas, I actually clipped off some cuttings so I can repropagate those. Not too worried about this stuff. There's dragon fruit insulated, but I did take cuttings of dragon fruit too. This Pisang Kalang banana, I don't know. Got my fingers crossed for it. The goats did fine. They're built for this. The chickens are mainly built for this, although I did lose one rooster. And to not make wasted things, we had rooster that night. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but to me, the cycle of life, I don't raise chickens solely to eat them. But if things like that happen, I don't have a problem making use of it. But yeah, all the animals are doing okay. I packed everything full of hay. They've since kind of compacted things, but they've stayed warm. Let's see, I have an avocado in the pot with the sheet over it. Do you know if you have an avocado, Curious Cat, if it's in a pot, it depends how cold things got. If the roots froze, sometimes pots, let me swivel around. Sometimes pots can do more damage than good if you didn't bring them inside, because the ceramic nature of some pots actually conducts the cold just as much as it does the heat. So it's hard to say, and it depends how big the pot was and stuff. But and I've been through things like this before with avocados and stuff, and surprisingly the roots are usually pretty resilient. It depends on what rootstock you had, and I'll show you guys in a second if my Wi-Fi makes it out there. But my rootstock avocado, I had an avocado, I think it was a reed or something. I had a freeze, not this bad, but it went down to the rootstock, and I let the rootstock regrow so I could graft onto it after it got hardier. And I'll show you in a second, but that seems to be hanging on pretty well. Let me see if I can get over there. All my avocados seem okay under the insulation, but the temperatures aren't going to be quite as bad. This is that avocado I'm talking about. Some of these tips are definitely just, I can already tell they're gone. And even some of this branching out might be salvageable, but I'm not worried about it. I really do think, though, the trunk itself, it's actually a little bit barked. It should be good. Yeah, it's plastic on one. Yeah, plastic in this kind of, I don't know what kind of temperatures you got, but plastic doesn't do all that much when it gets so cold. The only thing I have going for me is I had a bunch of Mexican sunflower tucked in this plastic. And so I have a fence behind it, and it is a windbreak. I know they say plastic isn't great. I'm looking at this black sapote, and it might be okay where I wrap the trunk, but it's very much toasted. But my avocado, this is a Mexicola. You can see the tip is a goner. But when we get further down here, things actually look okay. But these tarps and stuff, they help and they don't help in different ways. You know, when you have contact with the tarp itself, it's likely to burn them and stuff. But yeah, down to 16 degrees, so you're pretty much in my boat, Cat. Honestly, you're just gonna have to see with some of this stuff. These papayas all bent over. As time goes on, I'll be able to see how mushy they get. When they firm up, which they are still firm down here. Oh, and there's actually still ice on them. They'll probably be down to the ground, but these have burnt down to the ground and came back. Rio Grande here is actually looking okay, but some of these things can be deceiving. Sometimes the They die really quick and don't defoliate, so you can't really tell. All this banana clump, I'm kind of trying to protect my ice cream bean with some of these bent over bananas for the time being. Yeah, I think a good amount of my plants should rebound, and some of them are seedlings, so if they come back from the ground, it doesn't really matter if it's rootstock or not, because they're actually seedlings, so they should be okay. This is a peanut butter fruit that actually doesn't look that bad considering these temperatures. So I'm really actually confident most of this stuff should bounce back, aside from the tropicals. Sorry, I got caught up on something. But as I explained in a past video, part of what I do is when I propagate stuff, I make clones and copies, and I take cuttings before things like this happen. So worst case scenario, I have a lot of duplicates, and I can replant those in the spring. My only the only thing that's killing me is this the last of this winter. Hopefully the lowest we go is 30 and stuff. And to be honest, everything I've had, I didn't even bring stuff inside, and it's been completely fine down to 30 degrees with minor damage. So this was kind of expected. It's still like 35 degrees even now, flirting with freezing, and it's getting down to possibly 25 the next 2 nights. So considering, I'd say we're doing pretty good. The bananas and all that was expected, but I'll show you some of the brassicas and stuff are still hanging on. It's pretty awesome. That pepper's probably a goner, but as far as annuals and stuff, like I can replant a lot of this stuff. I'm not too worried about it. And this guava behind me, the leaves are definitely toasted, but it's kind of tucked away in a nice little microclimate here. We've got the building here, lots of windbreak and stuff, so I'm pretty confident. It's so thick too. I'm pretty confident that at least below the insulation, it should be okay. And even some of these really cold tolerant loquats, the new growth got burnt, but they should be fine and intact. And so yeah, my original plan too was to have chimenea and this going full throttle throughout the duration. I didn't anticipate that I would be losing fire, or I mean losing electricity. Sorry, I'm still kind of thawing out from this entire experience. But so anyway, on a side note, how I was keeping us warm was it's a mess back here because of all the stuff I was doing. I was using this little grill / smoker I just bought, getting it crazy hot, transferring the coals out of it into the chimenea, bringing that inside for radiated heat. And then when that would cool off, I would transfer the coals back into it, take the chimenea inside. And then eventually I got this speed rail off a fence, insulated it, had it going in from the chimenea to heat up into the window there with some cardboard and stuff. And I was using that as a radiator, and I actually got really good radiated heat out of that. It was capped on that side, filled it up with water, so the water would heat up, get in there, radiate out. Once it cooled, it would come back down, get heated up again. It was it's pretty amazing what you can do under distress with adrenaline. And I have 2 kids, so I did everything I could to make do. I got to a point where I was running out of firewood and stuff, and I was finding dead wood behind the railroad tracks and stuff. I'm thinking the trees well established would be good, right? So yeah, Kat, well established trees, yeah, like behind me I have this moringa that are notorious for succumbing to death at like 30 degrees, but it's hard to gauge things on camera. But when you look at the size of this trunk, I think especially anything wrapped down there, should be okay. It's to the ground. But moringa, I have a ton of these seeds that I've saved, and that's only 2 years old. So let's see. Good to see you're optimistic. Went down to 9 degrees, and I haven't assessed everything. Yes, that's the thing too. Like, I already knew damage was done, and it got to a point where I'm like, yeah, we all want it to be warm, but I'm looking forward to when it warms up. I don't have a problem kind of rebuilding what I've done here. And it's not like it's a total loss. And I do have lots of deciduous trees too. I do have a tropic snow peach I'm a little worried about. I think it's just stress, but I have a little sap coming out. But it was breaking out of dormancy just as this happened. It was blooming. Surprisingly, I have some blossoms that are just swelling, so I might still potentially get peaches, that would be a plus. But yeah, things aren't a complete loss here, and I still have kind of like an infrastructure, and I think all the bananas will come back. And yeah, it's just the hard part for me is I built all this based on like pushing the limit, and I could probably even deal with like down to 25 degrees and everything would be okay. Just like a little bit burnt on the tips maybe. But I don't know. It's like I said, it's not a complete loss. If I had a really spaced out place with just really tiny trees and stuff, they'd all probably be burnt to the ground. But a lot of this stuff is fairly established. I've tucked a lot within each other, so I think we're good. And basically, I was just taking advantage that we got a little break, and it's 35, but it feels like it's 50 right now compared to how it was. But the sun's out. I thought I'd take a peek around and share things with you. Like I said, it's definitely been an experience. Definitely been pushed to some limits mentally and physically with trying to keep 2 kids warm in a 30-degree house. For those of you who aren't Texans, I'm from New Jersey, and I see a lot of people talking negatively. A lot of people get it too at the same time. They understand that we're not used to this. Also, the structures we live in aren't accustomed to this. Of course, our power grid is separate from the federal, and it was its own mess, and it all went out. There's a lot of factors. Also, like me, I've been wearing 3 hoodies this entire time because I don't have a winter jacket. I'm wearing tennis shoes that get freezing because I don't have waterproof boots. I don't have a lot of us Texans aren't equipped for this, nor should we really be. In the future, I'll probably have some just in case. Luckily, I kept myself and the kids warm because we planned on going camping before all the COVID stuff went crazy, and we all had sleeping bags. So we huddled up, packed our sleeping bags with all the blankets we had, went to bed fully clothed just like this, hats, everything. I know my son even still wore his shoes to bed, but we made it, covered our heads up and everything. And actually, once you finally got in there and warmed it up, it was actually like pretty comfortable and toasty. So hopefully anyone watching, is there anyone still without power? I definitely feel for you guys if that's the case. A lot of people lost power for like a day or half a day or a few hours, and even that can be rough. But the fact that day one we lost heat, and soon after we lost our electricity too. My gas meter, I think maybe from a previous flood, it got water inside of it, and that water froze, so it automatically cut off. And I thought everyone just had gas cut off, and when I finally talked to some neighbors after like 3 days into it, they all had gas. So I had to kind of go out on a whim and tell the company that I suspected a leak just to get them out here. Luckily they came out quick and I got that taken care of. But yeah, this is different. And for anyone watching up north, It can go both ways. What we're noticing here is someone said it's not climate change so much as climate, they said something like irregularity or something, but it's the fact that things are changing and things are going to get more and more unpredictable. Just like there was the hurricane up in the Northeast around Jersey and New York a few years ago. Things are going to continue, and you have to be resilient and you have to adapt. So I'm not sitting here thinking things are a total loss. I'm blessed that my pipes didn't bust. The fact that I didn't have heat or electricity in the midst of all this, it scared the crap out of me, because then you have absolutely no insulation for your pipes, you know, some radiating heat at least so that they don't burst. And I've actually had pipes burst in the past, and I covered them up and stuff since then. So luckily I don't have anything detrimental damage wise. Probably just be dealing with a ridiculous electricity bill for the tiny bit of electricity I finally got. But all right, guys, again, I just wanted to kind of share things with you. If you're in Texas, I feel your pain. I'm with you. And we have 2 more days of this, one night and another full day, a little bit more mild than that really bad night. So hopefully we get out of this okay. And yeah, just a quick update. Just wanted to keep you guys posted. So until next time, feel free to leave comments after the video gets uploaded and all that, and I'll be sure to respond. All right, until next time, guys.